Welcome to the first module of the Job Search Essentials for Papua New Guineans course by the PNG Recruiter. We will be covering cover letters, the way recruiters like. So, firstly, why cover letters? So, as you can see from the screen, the purpose of cover letters is to introduce yourself to a potential employer and provide additional context and information that complements your CV, expressing your enthusiasm for a job vacancy at a company. It explains why you are interested in the role, the organization, and how your skills and aspirations align with their values, goals, and the role's requirements. So basically, you are just writing a letter to express your interest in a vacancy that you may have seen online or in the newspapers, wherever you've seen. You are expressing your interest in the role and trying to show it in the letter how you will be the best fit for this vacancy at the organization. That's simply what cover letters are for. So we move into the next slide of this module, which is recommended format for a cover letter. So on this slide, we've got 6 points here. Firstly, um, for the recommended format for a cover letter, uh, the date of the cover letter is typed at the top right corner of the cover letter. For example, you can put it in this sort of way, which states 12th of July 1990, for example. So I'll just give you a quick sample of it. This is a sample cover letter here, and this is what we are talking about. So put your date up at the top right corner of the cover letter. Um, The recommended date to put in the top right corner of your cover letter would be the date that you've completed the cover letter. So that would be the best date to put. And so this will just allow the recruiter or the HR personnel to see that you've completed the cover letter within the required time before the due date of the job vacancy you are applying for is stated in your cover letter. So we move on to the second point of this slide, which is your current postal address, current residential address, which should be located just below on the right side of your cover letter, just below the date where you've stated previously. So as you can see on this template cover letter, this is what we mean. So put your address there. Um, so from this, you can see that the name is stated there. That would be the name of the applicant, and this would be their postal address, which would be, if a recruiter sees this, they would assume that that is their own personal postal address. So that's that. So you can do that if you have your own personal postal address, or in most occasions in Papua New Guinea, uh, we do not have our own postal address. So if that's the case, you should use this, which is C slash dash O, capital letter O, and that would stand for care of organization. Uh, Care of organization is usually put when um, you're using the postal address of an individual uh, that owns this postal address, but it's not yours. So on most occasions, Papua New Guineans do this because we do not own a postal address personally. So if you are in this sort of situation, whether using your um, your guardian's work address or your guardian or relatives personal postal address. Please indicate it like so, so recruiters know that you are using somebody else's postal address to um, address your letter off to them when applying for jobs. So for this example, we'll just say care of Mr. Joe Blow. He could be my uncle or something that I'm staying with in a different province while looking for a job. And so the recruiter, when they see this, they will assume that, okay, Mr. Douglas Panimbi is using Mr. Joe Blow's postal address to post this cover letter or application when applying for a vacancy from our organization. So typically use this if you are using someone else's postal address, like a relative or um, a guardian, or you're using their work address just for communication sake, and also it's professional. It shows that you respect the recruitment process, and these are small steps that shows that you are respecting the recruitment process and showing your professionality, even though you do not have a you know work experience or anything like that. Small steps like this, they show recruiters or interviewers or whoever who's screening your documents that you're showing professionality and putting in effort into obtaining a job. Goes a long way. Small things, but it goes a long way still. So yeah, um, take note, put your postal address as such when doing your cover letters up. Now, sometimes you might want to put postcode in your cover letter. So, if you are going to put a postcode, you can just put it somewhere besides the PO box number and put the postcode somewhere here. So, for example, this would be in NCD. So, NCD, I believe the postcode would be 121 NCD or what must be. So, just put it like that. But yeah, if you're in a different location, you can always go to the Post PNG website, and um, somewhere there on their website you can locate the updated post codes for any locations around Papua New Guinea. They'll give you a long list there. So, yeah, if you want to use a postcode, you can put it here, like so, make it neat and tidy. But also, on most occasions as well, Papua New Guineans may not have a postal address, okay, access to it, or um, their relatives might not have a postal address as well. So that's fine. What you can do is just use a your current residential address or your current location where you are living and applying for a vacancy from. So we can show you on this template cover letter here how to do it. So say for example, I do not have a um, postal address, or my guardians do not have one. So my current location, for example, would be um, let's say the street would be Kito Gara Street, and the suburb where I am located at is probably Gero, a suburb in Port Moresby, and the city would be Port Moresby, and the province would be NCD. So this would be the best format to state your residential address. If you want to put Papua New Guinea bottom too, then that's fine. But we are applying for jobs here in PNG, so everybody knows we're in PNG. So totally up to you. Um, but say for example, you're in a like a rural area, um, not a street, in the urban area of PNG, and you're applying for a job, and you'd like to state your current location on your cover letter, that's fine too. I'll give you an example how you should go about in doing that. So, in my work experience, I've come across applications that are being sent from people in Lay, particularly in WhatsApp. So, we'll use that for an example. So, maybe I'm living in WhatsApp and I'm applying for a job at Lee here. So, put it like this: the village, or the rural area, um, and put the city and the province. There you go. Just show you how should I put it. Oops. Yeah. So MTOSO, just put it like this. Um, Sampler time. People want to put their phone numbers, so that's fine too. You can go ahead and put your phone number there. Um, so maybe something like that. And if you have an email address, you can go ahead and put it there, just to narrow it down for recruiters to see and really know that you're serious about applying for this position, where you're currently located, and you're giving um, your current contact details in a summarized format underneath your uh, postal or residential address you are using. Or you can just forego that, and later on you can state it in the body of your cover letter later on. We'll get through that in the next video and slides, so no worries about that. We now proceed to point 3 of this slide, which states, who are you addressing the cover letter to? So, for example, are you addressing it to the HR manager, the HR department, or the recruitment manager? Um, if you have knowledge of who you are addressing your cover letter to, um, please state it on the left side of your cover letter, um, just below where you've stated your postal address or your current residential address. So, for example, here we go. So, we've stated the recruitment team, or because we do not know who um, the specific manager is, whether they are the human resource manager or the recruitment manager for this organization. Therefore, we've stated the recruitment team. So it's open for anyone in the recruitment team to um, view our cover letter and it's addressing it to all of them. So regardless, you are addressing the entire recruitment team. That's why we put this. On some occasions, when you are applying for a position, uh, for an advert that you've seen in a newspaper or online, um, they might state who you should be addressing the cover letter to, or the email to, or your application to. They might say address to the recruitment manager or to the human resource manager. So if that's the case, if they've stated it and you know who to address your cover letter to or your application to, please state it, to the recruitment manager. Oh, so that's when you are notified in the advert of this vacancy you want to apply for, of whom to address your application or your cover letter to. So therefore, you do it that way. So sometimes in adverts, they may put the postal address you should be addressing your cover letter to in there. So please, if you see that, go ahead and fill in the necessary details in here. Um, for this instance here, we are responding to an advert which doesn't state a postal address. So if you come across any adverts which require you to submit a cover letter, but they don't state the postal address for you to state in your cover letter, don't worry about that. Well, there's a couple of ways to get around that sort of situation. Firstly, what you should do is you can go to the website of that company and go to their contact section, and they may put up the postal address there with the you know current location of their office. So you cannot use that and just put it in this format here and so on. But well, if they don't state it and you have a general idea of where they're located, um, then you can just put their postal address or their address in this sort of fashion. So if you put it in this way here, which I'm highlighting, um, the recruiter will see it and assume that okay, this person doesn't know our postal address, but he knows that we are located on Lihia in New Island province. So therefore, you should state your address for the employer here in this sort of way. So if you have knowledge about whom you are addressing the letter to and their postal address, please state it. If not, then try to work with whatever information you have on hand so that you're still within the boundaries of professionality and you are able to display that in your cover letter. Alright? So back to the slide. I believe we already covered postal slash residential addresses for of organizations you're applying to. So we can forego that. We'll move on to point five, which is salutation. Dear Sir slash Madam, or Dear Mr. John, or Dear Mrs. John, etc. So let's get into it. So if you know whom you are addressing the cover letter to, you can just put the name of the person that you are addressing the cover letter to, which is, for example, dear Mr. John or dear Mrs. John. Um, you might have found this information in various ways, such as the person personally, um, this HR manager personally, or you might have you might be friends with them on LinkedIn or whatever social media platform, and they shared the vacancy on those platforms, and they've asked to asked applicants, potential applicants, to address the letter to them, the cover letter to them. Whichever way, if you know whom you are addressing the cover letter to, please state the name. But on most occasions, you won't know whom you are addressing the letter to. So, to be on the safe side all the time, just put dear sir slash madam. Alright? So, like so, for this instance, in this cover letter template, we've stated dear sir slash madam and a comma. Um, that's because we don't know whom we are addressing it to. So, we are being open and being professional, uh, gender neutral as well, um, being open to whether the person whom we are um, sending this cover letter to is male or female. They will still receive it and acknowledge it. And yeah, so if you don't know whom you are addressing the cover letter to, um, just put this to be on the safe side. Works every time. And yeah, it shows your professionality again and your politeness. And it's uh, open address to anyone who is male or female who will be reviewing uh, your cover letter and your application. So we go to point 6 of the slide, which states introduce subject line with RE colon. This is a colon. RE basically stands for regarding. So this is how you introduce the subject matter of the cover letter. And the subject matter is just stating your expression of interest in a particular vacancy with an organization. So you can put that just below um, the salutation that you've already put there and center it so it stands out, because this is a very important part of your cover letter. Okay, so this would be how you can basically put your um, regarding section. So put it like this: RE colon and then followed by expression of interest for the. This is where you insert the correct, accurate vacancy job title, and then vacancy with the organization which this vacancy is with and where you would like to work at. So that is basically how you put your or introduce the subject matter of this cover letter, and you officially express your interest in the vacancy. We have to get this right so recruiters or HR personnel, when they are reviewing cover letters, they're able to see quickly what sort of vacancy with the organization you are applying for, and then they can sort it out quickly. Uh, These ways are very important, so it allows them to carry out the recruitment process fast and allows you to get feedback as soon as possible. So that's how you introduce the subject matter of your cover letter. So we move on to the next slide of our course, which is on opening paragraphs. So an opening paragraph is the paragraph that comes immediately after you've stated the subject matter of your cover letter, which we previously discussed on. So the opening paragraph of your cover letter should begin with a clear and concise statement of your purpose for your cover letter. It should also mention the specific job you're applying for and how you learned about the position. And you also express your enthusiasm for the opportunity for this vacancy that you're creating the cover letter for. So, an example would be um, I would like to express my interest in applying for the above mentioned vacancy at your organization. So, you are already expressing your enthusiasm or your interest in applying for this vacancy. Where it says above mentioned vacancy, you can interchange that with stating the vacancy that you are applying for. You've already stated it in your subject matter, but that's fine. You can go again and mention it in this opening paragraph of your cover letter. Okay, and where it says organization, you can just leave organization, or you can put the full name of the company that you are applying for. Totally up to you. And where it says, as I believe I can be an asset to it and will go through in further detail of my reasons why. This is just making reference to the body of the cover letter, which we will go through um, soon during this course. And then you proceed on to indicating your highest level of education, which most likely is uh, the qualification that this vacancy is stating or prefers. So you have to mention it in here as well in your opening paragraph. Okay. So for instance, it states in the example, I hold a bachelor's degree in business and management from the University of Papua New Guinea, where I graduated in 2015. Something like that. Okay. So should you attempt to get everything all crammed in into one paragraph like this, then I guess that would be a good enough opening paragraph for your cover letter. So let's move on to the template cover letter we've been referring to all this time. So as you can see, we have an example of another example of opening paragraph which I've highlighted here. So it goes on by saying, I am interested in applying for this vacancy with Newcrest Mining Lee here, as I believe I possess the relevant experience and qualifications this vacancy requires. Okay, you are expressing your interest now in this sentence. Next sentence, I hold a bachelor's degree in business and management, majoring in human resource management from the University of Papua New Guinea. I graduated in 2015. So you are stating the highest qualification that you have, which is most likely the level of qualification that this vacancy is requiring. Now, you may have noticed also that, as we stated here, from this slide explaining on opening paragraphs, where it says you can mention how you learned about the position. Uh, that's totally up to you. Probably you can edit in here and state where you've seen that original advert, and maybe you might have seen it in the newspaper, so you can go ahead and say, I would like to express my interest in applying for the above vacancy at your organization, which was recently advertised in the, for example, in the Post Korea newspaper on the 18th of June 2024. You can go ahead and put that down probably somewhere here um, in your opening paragraph, and then go continue on with as I believe I can be an asset to it, and go through in further detail my reasons why. So that's totally up to you. Still, if you decide to exclude that, then that's fine as well, as long as you get majority of the points um, inserted, the major points inserted into your opening paragraph, uh, as we discussed. So maybe I should probably put this down in this template here, template cover letter, so you can see it in real time or in action. So yeah, I think I did an example here. So this time it's referring to the advert that would have been posted on pngworkforce.com. Maybe that's like a job site uh, that this position would have been advertised in. So I am responding to the advert posted on pngworkforce.com on the 18th of June 2016. I am interested in applying for this vacancy. Yeah, something like that. So it's totally up to you if you want to put that. If you don't want to put that, then that's fine. Work around what you feel is best for you and your expression of interest. See which is interesting or fits and works well for you, and proceed with that. We now move on to the next part of our course, which is body of paragraph. So I'll just go through it in brief for you. Let's put a slide here. The body of paragraph provides examples of your relevant achievements and experiences on the cover letter. It explains why you're interested in the company or organization and how your background aligns with the role's requirements. Um, the trick to doing this is by matching the requirements of the vacancy that you see in the job advert with your own experience, your own work experience. So let's just go back to our template cover letter here. So the body of the paragraph would be all of this as I've highlighted. So you can go ahead and pause this video and have a look at how it looks like. So once you cross check with your own work experience and the requirements of the vacancy that you are applying for, you should form a body of paragraph that looks something like this. So there's two paragraphs here in on this template cover letter. They basically talk about stuff that the interested applicant, did in the 8 years of work experience, and also mentions briefly the former employers of the applicant up until probably the current employer. So it's answering the questions or the requirements stated in the advert. Okay, so that would be the best way to um, create content for your body of paragraph in your cover letter. All you have to do is just uh, match your own uh, work experience and what you did in those years of experience you personally have stated briefly. And if you can get it all into one paragraph, that's fine. If you have a lot of work experience, like for this example here stated in the template cover letter, this person has 8 years of work experience, therefore they've gone beyond just one uh, paragraph. It's still fine. Actually, the more information that you state that meets the job requirements of the vacancy you're applying for, the better. Just don't go on and on and on too much about yourself and your work experience. Try to be as brief as you can and squeeze in as much information about yourself um, that's that matches the requirements of the job vacancy. I will do my best to do a video that specifically shows this. Unfortunately, I can't do that at this time because this cover letter is I did it for myself personally when I was trying to apply for a job um, with Newcrest, but the vacancy has already been closed, or it's no longer on the internet, or so I can't locate it to do a proper, you know, example of what I'm stating about using the requirements against your own work experience to build the content for the body of the paragraph. So I will promise I will do a separate video and upload to probably other social media channels of the PNG Recruiter for you to refer to. So a few more tips to help you with your creation of the body of paragraph in your cover letter. Um, this is to just determine whether you are actually suitable for the vacancy or not. So um, some key indicators of this would be if you do not meet at least three of the requirements of the vacancy, at least one, two, or three, please continue to apply for the role. Okay, but in the body of the paragraph in your cover letter, like we previously mentioned, um, focus the paragraphs in the body of paragraphs on addressing your experiences that do match the requirements of the vacancy. Okay, do not talk about the requirements in this vacancy which you do not have or possess. Okay, it could be like do you have experience with a certain software or certain machinery, or you know it's asked the vacancy is asking for 10 years work experience, but you only have 7 or 8 or 9 years of work experience. Just apply. But if you are coming close to, you feel like you can really do the job and you're close to some of the requirements that are stated in the vacancy, please go ahead and apply. Okay, but if you do not meet more than three of the requirements of the vacancy you are trying to apply for, do not apply for the role. Save your time, energy, and resources for another vacancy that suits your current level of experience and qualifications. Okay, so something that I've noticed amongst job seekers in Papua New Guinea, um, Yumisa fosi yumi lo apply lo work where it doesn't suit our current level of qualification and experience, work experience. So, when you continue to do that, you are exhausting yourself, and therefore you build frustration within you, and you start to have a very frustrated view of the job seeking process, which it already derails your chances of getting a, a job. It might have been a good job for you, but because you are so discouraged about applying for other jobs that didn't suit, you know you had more than three qualifications or requirements that didn't you didn't meet. You just forced yourself to apply to it, you know and then that probably you did that for more than five vacancies already. You are exhausting yourself, you're wasting your energy and time, you're wasting your resources. Okay, so you want to be able to apply for jobs that are within the boundaries, within the space of your work experience and your qualifications. So you must stick to what is suiting or suitable to you in terms of qualifications, work experiences, you know, tools that are required to offset the job, or um, anything that is listed in the requirements of this vacancy. If you see that you are going or you do not meet more than three, do not apply for it. Okay, you're not suitable for it. Just leave that vacancy and go look for another vacancy that you come close to. At least maybe you do not meet one, two, or three of the requirements listed. That should be okay for you to apply. You will have a better chance at being called in for an interview if you follow that. Okay, don't force yourself. Save yourself for something that suits you, and you have a better chance of being called in for an interview. Okay, a lot of people, they derail their chances of getting employment with this sort of attitude. So I'm telling you now, follow this and you'll see some positive changes in your job seeking efforts. So we've come to the last slide of this module, uh, for cover letters, the way recruiters like. We'll just cover closing paragraphs, complimentary clauses, and handwritten electronic signatures. So firstly, we'll go with the closing paragraphs. So a closing paragraph basically summarizes your key qualifications and expresses your interest in discussing your fit for the role in more detail during an interview. And it just mentions your desire for an interview and indicates your willingness to provide additional information if needed. Um, you can also add in your contact details there in the closing paragraph, like phone numbers, or an email address, so that you may relay the information or your contact details to the recruiter, that you can be contacted on those details to advise of additional information if needed. So, a good example of a closing paragraph on your cover letter would be is highlighted. So basically, if you ever read or just pause and ever read, which I recommend, it just states overall with the above stated. Um, when you're saying above stated, you are referring to the body of paragraph where it states your qualifications and experiences that uh, match the requirements of the vacancy that you are applying for. Okay, so overall, with the above stated, I'm confident that I'm a viable candidate for this position and will be available anytime for an interview with your good organization if need be. So you're also declaring that you're a viable candidate for this position and that you are also stating your interest to have further conversations through an interview with them if need be. And if they wish to do so, that's why you will be stating your phone numbers here is highlighted, and you will put your email address that you can be contacted on. For them to contact you, should they require further information from you, which will most likely be through an interview. So you can put your last bit of your closing paragraph like so, where it states I can be contacted for further queries on my mobile numbers. You can probably put one or two phone numbers, mobile numbers, or you can also put your email address. Best to put at least one or two mobile numbers which the recruiters can contact you on, and an email address. So most occasions, applicants do not have access to their very own personal mobile numbers or email address. Okay, for the time being, you can use someone else's, but just let that person know whom you're stating the contact details like phone number and email address on your cover letter or on your CV, that to be aware of phone calls coming through for this vacancy you're applying for, so that they can relay that message on to you faster. But I highly recommend that you get your own mobile numbers and your own email address. This is the most professional way of doing job seeking, and it shows your professionality once again to the recruiter that you are serious about getting employment with them. Okay, um, so try your best to do that, and I guess when you're starting off, you can probably put a guardian or parent, their contact details to receive calls regarding job opportunities when you state it in your cover letter or your CV, which we'll be discussing later on. But it's always best as you progress later on in life to get your own phone numbers and email address to handle such correspondences and communications directly. And that should be your um, closing paragraph. And now we go on to complementary clause. So it's basically you using a professional closing phrase such as sincerely or yours faithfully or best regards. Okay, so you know you have to end it off in a professional manner as well for cover letters. So in this case, I recommend you use yours faithfully. I've done some research on the correct um, complementary clause to use. So you should be using yours faithfully because you do not know the person. So you are addressing it as yours faithfully because you have faith that they are receiving uh, your letter, or in this case, the cover letter, and they will acknowledge it. So, yes, use yours faithfully. Yours sincerely, I believe, is to, when you're sending a letter to somebody that you know personally, but for business cases like this, on most occasions, if you do not know who you are applying or sending this letter to personally, then you're better off using yours faithfully. Okay, so put it like so, and let's move on to handwritten or electronic signatures. So after the complimentary clause, you should leave space for your handwritten or electronic signature. If submitting a physical copy with your name written at the bottom of it, as well with your title, that is Mr., Miss, or Mrs., etc. Whatever title you have, right? So, yes, you can also do electronic signatures, like for example, as I've done here. There's a lot of websites online on the internet where you can do a rough electronic signature where you can write with a mouse, just guiding the cursor along, and then you come up with it. I can do a video of it later on and post it on my social media channels for you to uh, have a look at and see how you can do so. But if that's mostly like in the case where it's a digital, uh, the cover letter is in a digital format. So just to make things easy, or life easy, I should say, you can just do a rough signature, and then convert it to a image file like JPEG or PNG, and then paste it there like so, and yeah, you should be fine. But if you are doing a physical copy, that's fine too. Just make sure you leave a space in between yours faithfully and where your name is, and that space there you can put your handwritten signature. So you need to put your signature there to indicate that it's officially, from yourself, and it's also showing your professionality once again uh, when applying for jobs. So always try to do that. And yeah, I think we've come to the end of our first module. I hope you've learned a thing or two about how to do a cover letter the way recruiters like.